Hello, I hope this video finds you doing well today. As part of our continuing discussion on the pipe organ and how it works, how it produces sound, and what aspects we as organists have to take into consideration when playing this instrument, today we're going to be talking about pitch, how the organ produces pitch, and what tools that we as organists have at the console to be able to control the different types of pitches that the instrument makes. Now, let's go back to some of our previous videos on our previous discussions that we had regarding the organ and how it produces sound. If you recall from that, we have pipes laid out on a wind chest that are under constant air pressure, and when the key is pressed, the valve opens under the pipe and the air passes through it. Now that will produce the sound, but the question is, how do we get different pitches out of that? Well, the pitch is all dependent on the length of the pipe that the air is passing through, with longer pipes producing lower sounds and smaller pipes, shorter pipes, producing higher sounds. Now, in most average instruments that you'll find, like for example ours here at First Methodist, the longest pipe you'll find in an instrument is usually as long as 16 feet. This is kind of what you see in most typical instruments. Though, however, if you get into some of the larger instruments that you may find in large church installations or even in concert hall instruments, you may find the longest pipe being as long as 32 foot. And in a handful of organs, some of the biggest in the world, there's actually 64-foot pipes. So they can really get really big depending on the size of the instrument and the scale that they're being built to. 64-foot pipe, when that sounds, it's kind of one of these things, you don't so much hear it as much as you feel it. Now that's the extreme end on the length. What about how small can they get? Well, sometimes the pipes get continuously scaled down until they can be perhaps as small as a pencil, that being a really high voice in the top of the register. So again, the size of the pipe can vary quite a bit, and that does give the organist a tremendous amount of range to be able to work with as far as different pitches. We are now looking at a set of stops located on the great or Hauptwerk division of our organ here. You'll notice that each one of these stops is associated with a separate set or rank of pipes. Each stop is labeled with its name as well as a number under each. The number indicates the length of the largest pipe in this particular rank of pipes. So in this case, if we're looking at the quintaton, the largest pipe, the lowest voice in this rank, would be 16 foot in length. For the Rohrflaut, it would be 8 foot in length. For the Blockflaut, 4 foot in length. And for the Flachflaut, 2 foot in length. Now, while these may represent the largest pipes in these particular ranks, when the stop is pulled and we are starting on the lowest key on the keyboard, as we move up the keyboard, the pitch is going to get higher because each key is going to be associated with a pipe that has been scaled from this lowest length, the longest length, down up through the smaller lengths. So they will be continuously getting shorter from the lowest note as we move up to the highest note. It's important to note that an 8-foot pipe will sound an octave higher than a 16. A 4-foot pipe will sound an octave higher than an 8, and a 2-foot pipe will sound an octave higher than a 4. This becomes very important when we're blending these different voices together, which is something which we will now explore. Now, looking at the keyboard, we're going to show you a little bit about how we use these different lengths of pipe together, these different stops with different largest lengths, to be able to combine different sounds together with the organ. So the first thing to keep in mind is that an 8-foot stop is generally considered kind of like our bass line. If we were to play middle C on the organ and we want it to be the same pitch as middle C on the piano, we're going to want to use an 8-foot stop, which I currently have pulled, producing the tone. Now, if we switch the 8-foot, take it off, and put on the 4-foot, you'll notice by pressing the same key, I've now gotten a pitch that's an octave higher. Similarly, taking the 4 off, pushing the 2, pressing the key, it's now 2 octaves higher than the 8 that we started with. And similarly, this works in the other way around. I've now set to the 16-foot pipe. It's an octave lower than where we started from. So, being able to pull the different stops and get these different pitches all for pressing the same key allows us to do a lot of things. Now, in a piano, if we wanted to play a chord, or if we wanted to play an octave, we would have to press down 2 keys at the same time. But with an organ, we can achieve it with 1 key by simply adding another set of pipes at an octave higher. So we have the 8-foot, and then adding the 4-foot stop, adding the 2, and even adding the 16 on the lower end. So there we have several different pitches, all achieved using different sets of pipes, but all achieved through pressing down a single key. For a piano, we would have to have multiple keys pressed. So to get that same 16, 8, 4, 2 on a piano would look more like this. So again, with an organ, by being able to add different stops and to be able to control multiple sets of pipes at different pitches, all with the press of a single key, we're able to build a great deal of texture onto the sound. This is just with pressing 1 key. What if we have all those items pulled, but we play a full chord? We're able to get a lot more volume, a lot more depth, and a lot more substance to the sound than what we would ever be able to accomplish with something like a piano, where each individual key corresponds to only 1 pitch. In order to demonstrate the magnitude of sound that can be created by mixing stops at different pitches, I'll be playing Leon Boyemond's Introduction Chorale from his Gothic Suite. This piece of music features a lot of large block chords in both the left and right hands, as well as chords in the pedal. For the stop selection, I'll be using several sets of stops at the 16, 8, 4, and 2 levels, as well as a few other different kinds of stops to add a little bit of color to the registration. I hope you enjoy.